Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know our mission here, we try to cut through all the noise, look at the sources, and really pull out those key bits of info so you can get up to speed fast.
Get properly informed.
Exactly. And today we are diving deep into a product that's, well, it's definitely got people curious. Secret Happy Drops.
The name itself catches your attention.
It really does, doesn't it? It promises mood and wellness support. And right away, that sets up the big question we always ask. Is this legit? Or is it maybe more hype than substance?
The classic dilemma.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The claims are pretty attention-grabbing. Our main source here is a review from the Digital Guidance YouTube channel.
Right, and they're upfront that it's based on their personal opinion and research.
Yeah, which is good context. They present Secret Happy Drops as offering, significant mood and wellness support. But what really jumped out at me is who it's supposedly for.
Ah, yes, the targeting.
It's not just like for adults. The marketing apparently says it's for women, men, even younger girls.
That is broad and specific too. Tailoring something like this for young girls alongside adults, that's unusual.
It really is. And the ingredients, they're described as natural ingredients designed to boost mood and promote happiness. Sounds amazing on the surface, right?
Almost too perfect, maybe. A natural fix for happiness for pretty much everyone.
But, and this is where it gets interesting.
What's fascinating here, and you picked up on this right away, is how fast our source pivots from those claims to, well, the lack of proof.
Yeah, the verification piece.
Exactly. The very next thing the Digital Guidance channel points out is a pretty big gap. There aren't many reviews available on Amazon or other trusted sites.
And that's not just about convenience, is it?
No, not at all. That absence of independent, verifiable feedback on platforms people generally trust, like Amazon, that can be a real red flag, or several red flags, actually. It just makes it incredibly hard for you, the consumer, to tell if this is genuinely new and effective, or if it's mostly just clever marketing.
Without hearing from other users.
Right. How do you know if it actually works? Or if it's even safe, especially for such different groups, men, women, young girls. That lack of transparency is a big deal, particularly because supplements aren't regulated like drugs.
Much less stringent oversight.
Precisely. So our source ends up being pretty cautious because there's so little external validation. They basically say, look, it's too early to say for sure if Secret Happy Drops is the real deal. The promise sounds good, but the actual proof, not so much evidence there yet.
That gap between the promise and the actual evidence is really key here.
Right.
So let's talk about that claim. Natural ingredients designed to boost mood and promote happiness.
Okay.
When a product uses that kind of language, that natural label for mood,
Yeah.
what questions should pop into our heads? Like, what does natural even mean here? Are there certain natural things we know can affect mood?
That is such an important point to push on. Natural is, well, it's probably one of the most effective marketing words out there, but also one of the vaguest, especially in wellness.
Right. It sounds good, but...
Yeah. It makes you think of, safe plants and herbs. But scientifically, natural just means it exists in nature. Arsenic is natural too, right? Not exactly good for you.
Good point.
So the real questions are, which specific natural ingredients are we talking about? And how are they supposed to work? I mean, mood supplements that do have some science behind them usually target specific brain chemistry.
Like serotonin or dopamine?
Exactly. Things like serotonin, dopamine, maybe reducing stress hormones like cortisol. You see things like ashwagandha or rhodiola adaptogens that have some research suggesting they help manage stress, which indirectly helps mood.
Or things like 5-HTP.
Or 5-HTP, yeah, or even basic stuff like magnesium. So when Secret Happy Drops just says natural ingredients without giving any specifics, you're left wondering, okay, how are these ingredients creating happiness across all these different people? Without those details, natural is just, well, it's just a nice sounding word, not really an explanation.
That's a really critical point. Natural doesn't automatically mean effective or even safe, does it? Especially for something as complex as mood.
Definitely not.
Okay, let's circle back to that super broad audience claim. For women, men, and even younger girls. You said it was unusual. Why is that so problematic from, like, a biological standpoint? For one single product to work for everyone, especially young girls.
Yeah, that's probably the claim that needs the most careful look. Biologically speaking, the hormonal landscapes, how we metabolize things, our nutritional needs, even the psychological triggers for mood, they're just vastly different across those groups.
Totally different system.
Completely. A young girl who's still developing, Her body, her brain, especially her endocrine system, it's just not the same as an adult man or woman.
So what works for one might not for the other.
Exactly. An ingredient, or even just the dose that might be okay or even helpful for a 40-year-old guy stressed about work could be totally wrong, ineffective, or potentially even harmful for a 12-year-old girl.
Like interacting with hormones.
That's a major concern. Some botanicals do interact with hormones. Throwing unknown compounds into a developing system without specific research for that exact age group, that's not just optimistic, it's risky.
It feels like a gamble.
It really does. This kind of one-size-fits-all marketing, it rarely lines up with the messy reality of biology, particularly for something as individual and complex as how we feel or mood. It makes it really hard to buy that one single formula could be safe and effective for such different people.
That's a really strong warning. Okay, so we've got these kind of vague natural ingredients, this very wide, possibly problematic audience, and this big lack of independent reviews.
Yeah, the missing pieces.
Beyond just the missing reviews, what other sorts of red flags should people listening be looking out for when they see a new wellness product making big promises like this, like practical things?
That's a great question because, yeah, the reviews or lack thereof, it's just one part. When you're looking at any wellness product, you should keep an eye out for a few key things. First, ingredient transparency and dosage.
Knowing exactly what's in it and how much.
Precisely. Are the specific ingredients listed? And crucially, are the amounts, the dosages, clear? Lots of products hide behind proprietary blends.
Oh, where they list ingredients but not the amounts.
Yep. Which makes it impossible for you or your doctor to figure out if it could work or if it might interact with something else. Second, look for third-party testing.
Independent labs checking it out.
Yes. This is huge for supplements because the FDA doesn't pre-approve them. Good brands often pay labs to check for purity. Does it have what it says it has? Potency and contaminants. Look for seals from groups like NSF, USP, ConsumerLab.com. If a brand isn't shouting about this kind of testing, you should wonder why.
Okay, good tip. What else?
Third, check the scientific evidence they cite. Is it relevant? Does it actually study their specific product or formulation, not just one ingredient in general? And ideally, is it peer-reviewed research? Fourth, look at the claims themselves.
Like how specific they are.
Exactly. Happiness is super vague. Are they hinting it cures depression? Because that would make it an unapproved drug. Or just a mild mood lift. The bigger and more absolute the promise, the more skeptical you should probably be.
Makes sense.
And finally, fifth, think about where and how it's being sold. Is it mainly on its own website with lots of, pressure tactics like countdown timers? Or is it through reputable stores? Aggressive, buy now. Marketing can be another warning sign.
That's a brilliant checklist.
Yeah.
Really practical things to look for beyond just reviews. And thinking about that marketing, it's amazing how products like this can still get buzz even without solid proof.
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of marketing tricks or like psychological buttons do brands selling things like secret happy drops push to convince people, especially when the hard evidence isn't really there? It taps into that desire for a quick fix, right?
Totally. The psychology of wanting an easy solution, especially for something as complex and desired as happiness, it's incredibly potent. And these brands know it.
So how do they leverage that?
Yeah. Well, one big tactic is using aspirational language and emotional appeals. Words like happiness, wellness, support, natural, they just resonate, They promise a feeling, an enhanced state, rather than curing a specific illness, which is harder to pin down and regulate.
Less likely to get them in trouble with medical claims.
Exactly. Another is using testimonials, often from influencers, or maybe just a few selected happy customers, instead of broad, unbiased reviews. These stories can feel powerful, but they aren't real evidence. It creates this feeling of social proof, but without actual data.
The curated stories.
Right. Then there's the secret formula or proprietary blend angle we mentioned. It sounds exclusive, maybe high-tech, but it mostly just hides what's really in there.
Makes it seem special while obscuring details.
Precisely. And finally, sometimes they create a sense of urgency, limited time offers, low stock warnings, pushing you to buy quickly before you think too hard or do your research. All these tactics tend to bypass your rational brain and go straight for the emotions, the desire for that instant solution.
Wow, understanding those tactics is almost as important as checking the ingredients.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring it back to our source, the Digital Guidance YouTube channel. They're clear, it's personal opinion and research.
Yep.
In this world where supplements aren't tightly regulated like drugs, how does a source like that, with its disclaimer, actually help us put products like Secret Happy Drops into context? It's not science, but it's useful.
It is useful, absolutely. By being upfront that it's opinion and research, digital guidance is basically acting like a consumer advocate navigating a confusing market.
Kind of like a first filter.
Exactly that. They're not claiming to be a clinical study. They're just sharing what they found, or importantly, what they didn't find, and giving practical advice based on that. Remember, in the US, under DSHEA, supplements don't need FDA approval before hitting the market.
The companies are responsible for safety and claims, but it's different from drugs.
A very different burden of proof. So when a channel like Digital Guidance says, hey, I looked for reviews and couldn't find many, or the ingredient list is vague, they're doing a valuable job. They're essentially saying the evidence isn't obvious here, so be careful. It's a practical, if informal, layer of consumer awareness in a space where claims can easily outrun proof.
That makes total sense. A helpful starting point for our own digging.
Yeah.
So, okay, putting this all together, the vague claims, the slightly weird target audience, the lack of reviews, those red flags we talked about, and the general supplement rules. What's the real practical takeaway for you listening if you are still kind of curious about secret happy drops or maybe some other product promising big wellness changes? We always say, talk to your doctor, but beyond that, what can you actually do?
Right, because talk to your doctor is crucial, foundational, but let's get more specific. If you are genuinely curious, and importantly, your doctor says okay, not necessarily endorsing it, but okay to explore it, approach it very, very cautiously.
Like the source suggested, maybe a small purchase first.
That's one idea, but really think about why you're doing it. Is it just to see if you react badly, or are you really expecting a big mood change? Keep those expectations realistic, and before you even buy that small amount, ask yourself, did I check for those red flags?
The clear ingredients, the third-party testing.
Yes, all of that. Did I look for info on independent watchdog sites, not just the product's own slick website? And when you do talk to your doctor, don't just ask, is this safe? Ask pointed questions.
Like what?
Like, could this interact with my other medications or supplements? Based on my health history, could any ingredients here be a problem for me? How would we even know if this is working beyond just me feeling like it might be? Are there any objective things to track? Remember, you have to be your own health advocate, especially in the wellness world. Being proactively skeptical, that's like a superpower.
Proactive skepticism is a superpower. I really like that. That sums it up perfectly. So bringing this all home, our deep dive into secret happy drops really highlights something important, doesn't it?
I think so.
These really attractive, broad claims about mood and wellness, especially when they're aimed at everyone, they just demand a really careful, evidence-based look.
They absolutely do.
And when those big claims meet a real lack of independent reviews, clear ingredient info, or testing validation, well, it doesn't automatically mean the product is useless, but it sure waves a lot of red flags.
Significant red flags.
It's really about empowering you to make informed choices based on what evidence actually exists, not just getting swept up in the marketing. The advice from our source, be cautious, maybe test carefully, and always talk to your doctor. That's not just advice. It's basically your essential toolkit for navigating this whole wellness market today.
And this specific example, Secret Happy Drops, it really pushes a bigger question onto you, the listener, doesn't it? Whenever you encounter any product promising these quick fixes or big wellness shifts, how do you personally weigh that? How do you balance the sheer appeal of the promise? I mean, who doesn't want more happiness? Against the fact that there might be no easily verifiable independent proof it works. It makes you think about the whole wellness product landscape. How much do we rely on reviews or transparency about ingredients or testing to shape how we see these things?
Or the lack of those things.
Or the lack of them, exactly. This whole situation really encourages that mindset. We've talked about healthy skepticism, taking personal responsibility for your health choices, and always putting professional medical advice and solid data ahead of claims that sound good but aren't backed up.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. In a world that's constantly offering instant mood boosts and happiness fixes, how do you personally decide if a claim like natural ingredients designed to promote happiness is even worth looking into more deeply, especially when solid, independent proof is hard to find and the promise feels almost too universal? What's your own filter for separating potential promise from just clever marketing? Something to think about on your own wellness path.